Hey everybody, this is Michelle Johnston. I'm a certified holistic nutritionist and I'm the owner of a corporate wellness company called Working Well. And today I just wanted to further the discussion about gluten. If you look on my YouTube channel, you'll notice that I recently posted a video called How to Know If You Should Take Gluten Out of Your Diet. It's called something like that. And the response was really great. I posted it on LinkedIn and on Facebook, and there was a lot of discussion around it. And I just wanted to continue that conversation and add one more piece in so that you could broaden your understanding. So we talked about, should you take gluten out of your diet? And the answer is maybe and maybe not. It's not something that absolutely everybody needs to consider taking out of their diet. However, I did want to mention a little bit more about gluten and what it does in the intestinal tract. And this is something that I think is important for you to understand, and then we'll talk about the circumstances in which it really would be very helpful, aside from celiacs, which we talked about previously. What are the other circumstances where you might want to actually consider taking gluten-containing grains like wheat, barley, and rye out of your diet completely? So let's zoom along to the intestinal tract. So the small intestine is the site of most nutrient absorption in your body, so it's really important. And let's say, for example, my arm here is the intestinal tract, and the food that we eat is coming in and moving along through it, and absorption is happening. Well, the lining of your intestinal tract actually has a bunch of different cells. So in this case, the small intestine is lined with a bunch of intestinal cells, and those are held together by something kind of like this. It's called a tight junction. So it forms a seal between the two, not between the two, but between all of the various intestinal cells. And what that does, what the tight junction does, is that actually prevents food particles and other substances traveling through your intestinal tract to stay inside of that tract. And but what happens is when we eat gluten-containing grains, there's a portion of gluten which is called gliadin, and that is present in wheat, barley, and rye. And when actually any individual eats these things, what happens is the gliadin in the gluten, there's a tongue twister for you, makes the tight junctions open up. So whereas before they were closed, almost sort of buttoning up the space between each cell, they become permeable to the contents inside your intestinal tract, so they can actually leak through into your body, into general circulation, and particles from the outside can actually leak in, which in this case, we're looking at undigested food and particles leaving the digestive system too soon. So that's actually what gluten is doing in everybody all the time when we eat it. And this is a finding that comes out of the University of Maryland Medical School by a researcher and his team. The lead researcher is Alessio Fasano, and he found this out in 2000. So I just thought it was really, really interesting. There's so much more for science to learn about gluten, about food sensitivities, and why some of us don't feel nourished or actually feel quite sick when we eat certain foods. So we're really just touching the tip of the iceberg, and I'm always excited to see what's next. So when should you really consider avoiding gluten-containing grains? I'm going to say in cases where you have an autoimmune disease. So autoimmune diseases are conditions where the body's immune system attacks its own cells. It somehow picks up the signal that its own cells are foreign, and the immune system comes in and attacks those cells. So conditions like rheumatoid arthritis, where we're talking about joints being attacked, and Hashimoto's disease, where we're talking about thyroid tissues being attacked in an autoimmune response. Even some research suggesting that macular degeneration, which is a disease in the eyes, can be affected by gluten. So if it's an autoimmune disorder, you want to make sure that you're eating a diet that's going to keep the tight junctions really closed. Because what happens is as those tight junctions open, and in some individuals, the tight junctions will stay open longer than in others. So that's a varying variable. So people in celiac disease, for example, the tight junctions do stay open for longer. And as we were talking about, if you have an autoimmune disease, when those tight junctions open and particles of food leave the digestive tract before they're broken down into smaller pieces that are more recognizable by the body for absorption, well, guess what your immune system does? It finds and tags those foreign particles, which are really just large components of your food, as foreign and dangerous, therefore eliciting an immune response. And if you've got an autoimmune condition, you absolutely need to be careful and be mindful. You may choose to mostly cut gluten-containing grains out of your diet, and you may choose to have them only at certain times, and maybe that won't even work for you. So it's something to play with. It's just something that I wanted to offer you as food for thought along the concept of should you take gluten out or leave it in. There are other substances aside from gluten and gliadin that will cause tight junctions to open up and increase your intestinal permeability. Such things could be environmental toxins just from the world that we live in, or an overgrowth of bacteria that have come and made their home on the lining of your intestinal tract. Those actually elicit a response that will open the tight junctions. By the way, what happens when we eat these gluten-containing grains or have that bacterial response is our body produces something called zonulin. And so it's actually zonulin that opens the tight junctions, but it's gliadin or the bacteria or the environmental toxins that trigger that zonulin response. So just really interesting information to keep in mind. If you are somebody with an autoimmune disease or you know somebody, maybe go speak to a healthcare practitioner and learn a little bit more about that. And if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you. So please feel free to reach out. Hope you found this video very informative and helpful. And please, I'd love to know what other topics you think I could cover that would be of interest to you. Just trying to think if there's any more news to tell you. Yes, I am going to be opening up another Healthy Lifestyle Reboot program after March break in 2018. So if you're interested, please do get in touch, and I will also post more on Facebook and Instagram. Okay, well, thanks so much. Have an awesome day, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.